next guest on The Informer is a graduate of the Harvard Business School. He's also the director of Small Business Australia. His name is Bill Lang, not the boxer, not the famous Australian national boxing champion, but the man who is fighting for small business in this country, especially in this most difficult time, this time of contagion, this time of disruption. You said only recently 2.5 million Australians are part of this small business sector, and they employ about 5 million people all up. That's a sizable chunk of the workforce. We've had some terrible things happen, and of course this all follows. At the beginning of the year we had the fires. No sooner we got through the fires, and as Dorothea McKellar used to tell us in that wonderful poem, you know, this land of sweeping plains, ragged mountain ranges. Well, she also warned us 100 years ago or more about the dangers of Australia, but she had no idea about Covid-19. So where do we sit, and how do we get forward? How do we get business from where it is right now? Much of it has been stalled, and many of them have been told to lock up, especially in Victoria. Small business, of course, across Australia does a tremendous job and has done for years. And I've said to people time and time again, one of the reasons why small business doesn't have a voice of its own is because that all the small business owners have been spending their lives working hard, making a success of their businesses. So where do we start? Where do we get things going? What do we need to change, Bill?
Yeah, look, there's major changes needed sort of by all three levels of government, George, and thanks for the opportunity to come and chat with you today here at The Informer. You know, at the federal government level, sort of one of the most critical things at the moment is the rebuilding of confidence, and the federal government stepping in and creating demand, as the economists would say. Now, not demand in terms of just handing money over to people, but getting people back to work, helping businesses re-employ them, and putting them to work on major programs. Now, for example, something we call at Small Business Australia, digital business cadets. We've got 1 million young people that know how to use smartphones, used to work in hospitality and services, no longer have jobs, may be unlikely to have jobs for a while. Let's get them trained in digital business and working with the million small business owners that still don't have websites, but need some arms and legs. Let's put 1 + 1 together and have it equal 3 or 4. Same concept could be used for the environment. Let's get some environmental cadetships out there and work on fuel reduction. We need people now in agriculture to make sure everything that's been getting grown is getting harvested. So we need the government to step up and get the, not just big infrastructure projects, but let's get the people to work. We can't have them at home just getting welfare payments and getting more depressed and having more anxiety. So that's critical.
Those welfare payments are likely to run out too. I mean, most of this support, especially from the federal government side, has got a use-by date. We've been told that in Victoria it will be doled out a little bit further on because of, course, the extra lockdown down under. I concur. Everyone's got to change. Everyone's got to be part of that solution too, haven't they? But we've had added problems. Business has been told, in Victoria especially, that it can't get up and do anything at the moment. We've got these extra impositions, these extra restrictions. How are they talking to you, your members, your 2.2 million members? What are they saying to you?
Look, there's a couple of things. They want the state government to be more open. I'm not going to use the word transparency, that's sort of political talk, mumbo jumbo, but be open with us. How many positive cases could Victoria actually cope with in the health system? Let's assume there's a third wave. We can't lock the whole place down again. So there's a question about openness, about seeing in clear sight what's going on and what the options are. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, what about really using the sort of technology that places like New South Wales are using? You have a bit of a look at New South Wales and what they're doing for businesses, how they've become COVID safe, how they do the tracing, how they use some simple technology, not pens and paper and stuff that we're going on. So New South Wales is the gold standard. We need the gold standard here.
I love the fact that you brought that subject up, because it's one of the things that really has been infuriating. I was in a restaurant, we walked in, and the minute the queue reader acknowledged our presence, all our details were passed straight through. Our involvement was minimal. We just had to make sure we logged into that particular site, and that was it. There was everything else is automatically done. Yep. I see a lot of people being resistant to grabbing a pen and putting anything down. So, as you say, we've got to be savvy. Tech savvy helps enormously. I also noticed we did an interview with some young guys who are really ahead of the curve. They've come up with a set of scanners. that they're super user friendly. They're also not an impost that's too great for the small business owner. And as you walk into the building, it goes red or green. In other words, you don't need the manual temperature controlled test. It does it for you. So that is another layer of comfort and security, which is one of the things we've all been preaching. But I want to know a bit more. How do we get some of the old business practices? Because for me, in this age of disruption, we need to hit the reset button and change some of this model. Because from my stance, and I might be 100% wrong, it seems to me, and from what we're hearing, we need to hit a reset button and change the whole way the model is broken. And I'm talking to governments about waiving costs, some of the business costs that that are fixed and they have to endure. I'm also talking about the landlords sharing the risk. And I know that it's tough even for the landlords, but unless we start changing the way we think and looking at a different model going forward, it's going to be impossible to get anything up and running again. Is that fair?
Yeah. Look, we need rapid innovation at all levels of government. So one of the things we've been calling for a while, and I think we're making progress, is no small business owner in Australia should be made legally bankrupt as a result of the response to COVID. Because small business owners aren't born, they are made. Who's going to actually, if they have to close their business, have a COVID business closure on a permanent basis, let that be the case, but don't make them bankrupt, unable to borrow money, credit records destroyed, whole range of other impositions. We need to keep those people alive and positive.
Well, after all, it's been imposed on them.
It's not their fault.
Yeah,
right?
their business model is probably 100%.
So we need innovation in the law very quickly on that front to give people some more hope that they will be able to get going again, rather than the potential stigma and other legal ramifications of that. But you make a very good point about landlords and the tenant relationship. The reality is a lot of these businesses aren't going to be able to pay the rent, yet it's still sort of being accumulated. We need an instant approach where very quickly says, look, what can the business afford? What's going to be fair? Who's got what balance sheet? How do we share the pain? In banking, we call it taking a haircut. How does everyone take a haircut rather than the small business owner being decapitated under the current system?
We talked a little earlier in the day to not a futurist, but a guy whose business is about finding a future, a resilient future, and moving to that model. And he was saying very simply that the model is broken. And you've got to change the way you think. Everyone's got to understand that we're in this. Everyone's talking about we're in it together, but see how it really works from the bottom up, not from the top down. And that means banks have to review their strategies, maybe change the way they help business or hold up business. And I know people who've had an opportunity, they've got quite a number of dollars in the bank, and they've gone for a loan and they've been told not yet, or you'll have to wait. Why?
Yeah, look, well, I think that generally in the community, sadly, people are frightened, people are scared, major institutions are scared. What are going to be the changes in Victoria? When will that business be able to reopen? They may have the collateral to be able to support it, but will we have to go and deal with a bad debt? Why take any risks at the moment, given the high level of uncertainty? We're great believers, in fact, that the pain of uncertainty is far greater than the certainty of pain. And this is where we need some more clarity, some more specific things. We need to know that we can live with the virus, get on with our lives in a virus world. There may never be a cure, there may never be a vaccine. There still isn't one for HIV/AIDS. We adjust, we change mindsets, we evolve. We've done it for thousands, tens of thousands of years as humans.
Again, you make a very valid point, because looking around Australia, the rest of Australia is up and running. I was talking to a friend of mine in South Australia this morning, and he was saying to me, at the end of the day, mate, we don't have a virus here. And if we do have a second wave, we'll have to adjust our thinking, because we can't imagine what's happening to you guys in Victoria. So there is a mindset that needs to really change, but I think every sector has to reflect on what's going on, and in order to get ahead, make those adjustments. In your dealings as the small business representative, is government listening? And I'm talking about all levels of government.
Look, I think we're seeing some positive moves, but it's happening, much more slowly than what it needs to, right? They need to start moving at speed, because as every day goes on, again, the pain of uncertainty greater than the certainty of pain. What's it going to look like? When's it going to look like? And how can we then make decisions with respect to that? So we've got a budget coming up. It's a big test for the Treasurer federally in terms of what that budget is all about and the extent to which people are going to be put back to work, doing meaningful things, having a meaningful life. They have to step in and create the demand to have the confidence.
Yeah.
We have to move away from being scared. Yeah, we have to stay safe, but we have to keep well. The other big thing is we want to see all levels of government spending more of their budgets in their local government area, in their state, in Australia.
And not only that, we also need to understand that that confidence they wish to install is about offering jobs. Because the way forward, I've always been a great believer, especially in small business, is offer as many jobs as possible, and jobs will bring that extra demand, that extra layer, and get the cycle going. This cycle has stopped because governments chose to go and disrupt the economy in order to save this nation from a major health scare. Now they've got to unleash or take the brakes off and get that cycle running again. But it's going to require some different thinking.
Yeah, look, absolutely, George. And that's when again, this concept of Australian cadetships. We've got other big issues out there that young people can be put to work on. The environment, like land clearing, fuel reduction, planting more trees. Agriculture is crying out for people. Rather than we can't get international backpackers. Let's get some young people geared up to do that. Let's get some other young people involved in active community-related activity. A lot of people are lonely. How can we gear them up? And then what we call the digital business cadets. Let's get them geared up, teach them some stuff about business and help the million small businesses without websites.
Look, you speak an awful lot of sense. I love your energy. That to me is the key. We mustn't be timid. We must be brave. We must be bold, and to take the challenge with both hands. Director of Small Business Australia, Bill Lang. As I said, I could sense there was a fighter within. How long have you been in this particular role for small business?
Well, the thing about the Langs, we arrived in 1865 in Victoria for the gold rush, right? So multi-generations, hundreds and hundreds of small businesses throughout the Langs for the 150-something years.
That's an interesting observation because they left their country. They left Ireland at a time when they needed to survive, to find a different sanctuary. They saw an opportunity and they went after it. And the same applies today. We need to provide an opportunity, but we also need that mindset to change.
Absolutely, George. We were a free colony. We never had convicts in Victoria then, but there are many people feeling like to some degree as Victorians, we are being conned.
You know, if you keep that talk up, there'll be a whole bunch of South Australians who were the Free State who'll come and challenge you. Bill Lang has joined us for a chat in the Informer studio, and it's all about small business. And if we want to get the country going again, especially those many businesses that make up nearly 5 million jobs around Australia, that's a fantastic part of our workforce. We've got to give them the opportunity. We've got to change the way we think. Thank you, Bill. Let us know. Come back into the studio again and let us know how things are going in the next month or so, because Lord knows we need to press the button and make sure it's fast forward.
Look, thank you, George. And as we say at Small Business Australia, 5 million and counting.